videos edited. Hey everybody, it's the Maple Syrup Show, and we're here. It is Wednesday, October the 8th. Happy birthday to my sister, who is not watching, but it's her birthday. It's also her husband's birthday. So happy birthday, Eric, as well, who's also not watching. But you know who is watching? Some people out there who like games and game design. And today, everybody, we have a special guest with us, Heather Newton. How are you, Heather?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, it's good to have you. And we got George, of course. Hey, George, did you notice that I changed Kat's name on the intro video?
I noticed a couple weeks ago, right? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to be
just-
rude. It's I do appreciate it.
I didn't know if you saw it or not. So there you go.
There's like a trial period, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. Hey, Deadtown, how are you? If you're out there in Maple Syrup Land and you're logging on, please do let us know where you're calling in from, and if you have questions for Heather, we'll hold that for later. But Heather Newton is here because George had a burning question, a question that was burning so deeply in his heart that he said, "Can we dedicate the whole month of October to it?" George, what is your question?
I'm just going to talk a bit about board gaming not around the table. So all the different ways that you can play traditional analog games in ways that aren't traditionally analog, and also games that may be in the genres of traditionally analog games, but have taken on elements beyond that. So a bit of both this month.
Cool. And what got you interested in that, George?
So a friend of mine sent me a link to a game that his friend's designing. That it's a role playing game, but I don't mean to spoil it because I believe it'll be on later this month. But involves a play by mail sort of aspect, which is I suppose that's even more analog in a sense than like almost in the meaning like it's actual physical. And that made me think of if you've ever played Alice is Missing, which is a game that involves playing. It's a silent game but plays all through text. And like, well, these are two, and it just sort of steamrolled from there. Like, well, if that's two things we can discuss, why not make it a whole month's theme?
Right. There you go. And so, everybody, we brought Heather Newton here. Heather is one of the people who helps organize Protospiel Online, and that's kind of why we invited Heather here. So, welcome to Heather. How are you?
I'm good. Just like I was 3 minutes ago.
Yeah. And Heather, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Protospiel Online, and then we'll get deep into it.
All right. I played board games since I was a little kid. I used to play a lot of mass market sort of board games, and always liked to make experiences for people. Puzzles, mystery thingies. I hosted a murder mystery party the first year that my husband and I were dating, when we weren't married yet, and added a bunch of stuff to it. And he said to me after, everything that came in the box was really boring, but everything you did made it fun. And so
and that's why you're married.
Yeah. One of the many reasons.
Little heart for that.
But I was looking for ways to sell like a PDF online as an extra source of income. And so I started pursuing that.
Okay.
And I made a printable party kit thing, and it was miserable to print because it involved cards. And I didn't really know what I was doing way back then. And so I discovered the Game Crafter because I was researching how to solve that problem. I didn't want to sell something that was so miserable to make for oneself. And then when I discovered the Game Crafter, the Game Crafter hosts probably the most highly attended in-person Protospiel in Madison.
Mm-hmm.
And I attended that as a playtester in 2015. And that's how I met everyone after that. And then I got persuaded to run a Protospiel Denver in 2020. I ran it March 12th of 2020.
What?
Because it was a really emotionally charged weekend, I would say. There was a lot of
fear,
stress,
panic.
Fear, yeah. And it was an interesting. There was fear and panic, and also being together in that room and just being like, well, we have this weekend because we're already together and we're not going to cancel it now. Like,
Yeah.
we kind of already had gathered people when we got the news that schools were closing. And so it was if somebody here is sick, we've already been together. And so we're going to spend the weekend together.
Right.
We just
Yeah.
stopped letting new people in Saturday morning. But
Right.
everybody had been there on Friday. So, and it was interestingly comforting to be with everybody and kind of just
I guess so, yeah.
know that everybody was going through the same anxiety together.
Mhm.
And we made the most of that weekend, played a lot of games, and then we didn't see each other again for years in
Right.
person.
But what happened in terms of bridging that gap during the lockdown years in the before times?
Well, because there was no way for me to get a refund from the hotel, I didn't do refunds for anybody for the event. And we had, this when you have a in-person event, you usually have a refund policy, and ours was 2 weeks in advance of the event you could get a refund. And that date had passed because I had paid the hotel.
Yeah.
So I didn't do any refunds, but I have a big heart and felt bad for anybody who ended up not coming because of, well, being told if somebody is sick in your home, you can't come, that kind of thing. And also
Mhm.
just people who didn't come because they didn't feel comfortable coming. That's their own prerogative,
Sure.
depending on the day that they were going to join, or if they hadn't joined by Saturday and then we stopped allowing
Yeah,
people
that
in.
you're
I think those
SOL
people,
anyway, yeah.
anybody who like had a ticket and was actually trying to come on Sunday, I would give them a refund because I was a very specific sort of person where
Right.
I did tell them, I was the one who told them they couldn't come, because something changed about the rules. But for everybody else, I felt that even though it was the policy and I didn't really necessarily have to do it, I felt better about doing something to make up for it, especially
Right.
because it was a time that everybody was really scared and sad, and I knew about playing online from playing remotely with people in the Midwest because I live in Colorado, Protospiel, Denver. And so the people who had helped me organize Protospiel Denver, we all got together and built a Discord server and said, this is going to be a low price gathering, but anybody who had a ticket to Denver and couldn't come is going to get it for free. And then we ended up running it as a invite only event because there was also something going on with tabletop events at the time. Like, I don't know if anybody would remember, this was, over 5 years ago now, which is staggering to think about.
Right.
But tabletop events was in risk of going out of business because it was for live events and nobody was hosting them. And so there was a
Yeah.
fundraiser running for them that we didn't want to advertise over the top of. So instead of advertising, we did invitational only, and they advertised and we promoted them through what we were doing. And so so we ran that in April 2020, and it was small and invitational only. And then once we got to the end of that weekend, I did that for the sake of the Denver people. But a few people who were more far-flung friends of people who lived in Denver came, and they said, "You've got to do this again." And I just like take those commands apparently. So I got things together to sell badges for it to the public in July 2020. That was our first open to the public, and we've been doing that ever since, either 4 or 3 times a year. It's currently 3 times a year. It was 4 times a year in 2021 when the pandemic was more prevalently affecting our lives. And now it's 3 times a year in January, May, and August.
Right. And so the next one is the weekend of January 16th to the 18th, 2026.
That's right.
Correct. And we will have a link up for badges later if you want to participate. So the move to online was obviously predicated by the whole lockdown situation, but
Mm-hmm.
do you find that people really value the online one in a different way?
Yeah.
And if so, why?
I do think so. Well, I think that there was a desire to have something like it before the pandemic because Protospiels are usually small regional events. on the smaller side. You know, they're not like a Gen Con level kind of thing.
Right.
They're, I think, I don't quote me on the numbers, but I would say, you know, Madison's is probably the largest and of a standalone convention, and it's probably about 300 people at the most,
Right.
something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I've been to Ann Arbor, I've been to the Toronto ones, I've been to a couple other Protospiels, and they're not huge. They're not supposed to be,
yeah, it's part.
but they're good. I think that's kind of the deal, right?
They feel a little bit like a retreat, but bigger than a retreat. You know, they're kind of
Yeah.
between retreat and real big, you know, national convention or even large local convention. You know, there's some local conventions that are whatever 5,000 people or something like that, and
Yeah.
it's not that big.
No.
But one central Protospiel that connects all the network, you know, I think there was a desire for people who usually just, you know, they don't go to a Protospiel that's further away than like a 4-hour drive. But then there are some other Protospiels, part of other people who are kind of have the same ethos and the same community mindset of a Protospiel, but they live in another part of the country. Protospiel Online can be a place where all those people have access to come, and even if they don't know how to or like to play test digitally, they can at least talk, visit. You know, we have two kinds of badges. We have designer badge and playtester badge. Playtester badge is cheaper, and you can get it to just come and talk, even if you're not. It's called playtester, right? This is just to designate that you can't bring and play your own designs. But some people come with a playtester badge just to talk to people, catch up, talk shop, hear about how things are going in different people's projects. Just feel supported, knowing that there are other people dealing with the same kind of design problems and maybe indie publisher problems, depending on what people are doing.
Right. It's like self-publishing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, George, what do you have questions about in terms of the how-tos and the wherefores and the what ofs and the this and that's?
I mean, let's start with, so what sort of tools do people use to, I mean, I'm familiar with some of them, but I may have changed. I haven't been to a Protospiel in, I think, a year now. Like, what sort of platforms, how do people get games in front of people?
The most popular one in our circle is screentop.gg. And I think playingcards.io is starting to come up in prevalence too. But both of those are tools that present the game in 2 dimensions, just flat on the table, and they're both browser based. So the experience for the playtester is just here's a link, click it, now you're in the table. Maybe you need to label your seat with your name or something like that. Take your seat. But you don't have to have an account or use your email. You don't have to install anything on your computer. One time we had somebody who was really having trouble with ScreenTop, and we discovered that they were using a protected
Internet
browser.
Explorer?
No,
they were using like Netscape Navigator.
Something that was meant to protect their privacy, but it was blocking all of the assets. And so
yeah, like an ad blocker or something.
Yeah, it was the whole browser they were using. I forgot what it was called now, but it was not a good idea to use with ScreenTop. You need to use Chrome or Firefox or Safari, and I think Edge is allowed to is usable. I was like messaging with the developer of ScreenTop. So part of what's wonderful about ScreenTop is I do personally know the developer. I'm in his DMs, you know what I mean? I'm like, we're having a weird problem that you might want to know about. And I'm like, okay, we got to figure out bad idea for browser, just so you know, if somebody comes with you with this problem. He's like, yeah, I can only guarantee those 4. And I'm like, that's fair enough.
Yeah, and so that's a good note for everybody. Hey, make sure you're using these browsers, right?
Yeah, but they're the very common ones. Most of the time people are. You might not be using them all the time because you are worried about privacy issues, but if you're just playing for, you know, just using it for this one thing, you don't have to give any information about yourself, so it shouldn't be a privacy
kind of
issue.
Like spy or hacker or something.
I don't know. I mean, in today's day and age, people are concerned about their privacy online for sure.
I guess so. And you're definitely not seeing a lot of the more, you know, server intensive kind of software.
We don't support people posting games from Tabletop Simulator, so we
Right.
know we don't see that one. The one that is like it, called Tabletop Playground, is less popular because people do have to buy something and
Mhm.
install it, and not everybody has a computer that can handle it. Some people don't like to have Steam installed on their computer. I over the years I've told people, yeah, well, if you have Steam, you're okay, and then they're like, I refuse to install that on my computer. I'm like, well, yeah, that's your that's a playtester. From a
Yeah.
playtester's perspective, some of them are not going to want to have those programs installed. And some people just have something like a Chromebook. They don't have
Mhm.
a real tower or laptop on their desk, and so they're not really able to install something that has a big engine like that.
Oh, that's a good point because like Screentop GG and Playing Cards IO should work fine on a Chromebook.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah, I think they do.
I remember the first couple Protospiel Online I went to. I just my brain said I'm going to build everything in Tabletop Playground, and they're all basic, but everything I was bringing was just card based like tile games,
Yeah.
and there's no point to that. Like, and I was excluding. It was actually harder to play because you couldn't quite set like the angle you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have played games on it though. Like I ran into one like a year and a half ago, where there was a randomizer for the way that the people took their turns, and it was literally a track with marbles in it, and like you would pull them out and drop them in the track, and you could pull them out of the center, and they'd click together, and like that was beautiful in Tabletop Playground,
Yeah.
and that would not have worked
Right.
in Screen Top. But for a card game, yeah, it's just easier to access, I think, yeah, with the 2D. So understanding the right tool for the game that you're trying to present, I think, is
Yeah.
important.
Sometimes you can even some of those 3D things you can mock up. It's not as good, you know what I mean? But if you really want it to be accessible, you can think of new ways to like maybe make like an isometric flat piece, right? That looks 3D, and then it looks like you're building a 3D thing on a flat surface. And that's a little bit of extra work. You have to do it. That's special for that implementation. It's not an asset that you would have made just for the print and play.
Right.
But sometimes you can do things like that.
Yeah, and I
And
guess people know which games are going to show at online versus
yeah,
when they go to like Madison or another Ann Arbor or Protospiel where it's live and they can bring their their big jump off the table type physical
right,
prototypes that are huge and ginormous. So.
right. Yeah, and well, yeah, there are people who make those, but really those kind of prototypes aren't really that common in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think people who make those prototypes, like, it's because they're very crafty and they love to make that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for playingcard.io, that one has started to become more prevalent. Like you don't only have to do cards in that one; you can do boards too, but it can't be too big of a board.
Oh,
And this
okay.
is why I think Screen Top has an edge over playing cards, but playing cards is even simpler. There are no hotkeys. It's all just clicking and very intuitive for the players. There are a few hotkeys, like, remember that there's things that are very silly, like Z is shuffle in Screen Top, or I often
Shuffle.
right, exactly.
Shuffle. Well, I mean, it actually does kind of look like I'm looking at the letters Z in Canadian on my keyboard right now, and it does look like cards being shuffled. I can see that.
Oh, sure. I doubt that's the reason.
I think it was
But-
shuffle.
Probably just can't touch W, A, S, or D in any sort
Right?
of gaming platform. They
Right.
have history.
Right. S, yeah, maybe that's what it is, that they can't
I'm guessing.
use S. S is used to move around on the table,
Yeah.
right? And so
That's
they're
what I
like,
mean, yeah.
well, Z looks like S, but I think R for randomize or
That
roll.
that
you know?
actually makes
That's
Would
it
usually
make
that's
more
Yeah.
sense to
roll
me.
for dice, right? I don't know. Whatever. It's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good.
But yeah, and ScreenTop has a lot of great features of giving you different surfaces, so you can make your surface for 2-player, 3-player, have the table already set up in different ways. It allows you to have like a help section pop out. I've
that's nice.
seen my friend Greg Poole has really done a lot to explore both of these. Like the first time I played a game with him a few years ago, now it was a solo game, but what he wanted to test was that someone could sit down without him there and completely experience the screen top alone. So he had his rules like built into the help section, and then like hot links
nice.
in there
Nice.
to take you to things that would help you understand how to play, and like helper cards, that explain what the hotkeys are for somebody playing it. And then he moved on to making a lot of things in playingcards.io, and he's made some videos and stuff that have helped people figure out how to use it. And I think, just time of designers talking to each other, going like, oh, I saw how you did that. I have a game that would probably work with. Can you give me more information about how you made that? Right.
Yeah. I think that's where a lot of the what is it? The digital platforms where there could be a lot more people talking to each other, and there are already, obviously, but people learning from each other how to implement things in new and creative ways to really get your prototype out there so people can play it. And
Mhm.
you're right, Heather, with the really easy availability and the almost lo-fi-ness of screen top and playingcards.io, you could really easily release that into the wild, like a
Mhm.
solo game that people could just learn and play, and it
Yeah.
walks you through it. I think for like people who like making solo games, that's a great option, really,
Mhm.
because you just have to send the link, and um, then anybody can play it. Do you know? I don't know if you know this, but do you know of that? If it's the same link, does it launch a new instance of the game, or if I click the link and you click the link at exactly the same time, but we didn't know, would we be in the same space? I just don't know how it
No,
works.
I think it makes a just kind of like you're playing Jackbox. When you're
Yeah.
playing Jackbox and it makes a special room, I think when you hit launch game, for those that something else about Screentop is it does have a publicly listed section where you can get
Mhm.
your game listed publicly on their homepage. That's not a very robust part of what Screentop is doing so far. It's something that I think that the developer has hopes for it to be more robust in the future, but that path is going slowly, I would say. It stayed pretty similar how the
Right.
homepage is set up for a while now. And it's not super I think the way you get on that page is by talking to the dev. Like it's not a built as far as I know, as far as I can tell. But once you're on that page, there is a button that says like launch game. It makes a table that's your table. And I believe it lasts for like 2 days after the last activity on it,
Okay.
and then it falls away. And then I think that you have the opportunity to star a certain number of tables depending on your user level to keep, if you wanted to keep tabs on a really long game, like a game that I've play tested a ton at Protospiel Online, that is a very fancy, complicated screen top setup, is Witch's Quarrel, which is a legacy story game,
Wow.
where it's a deck building 2-player game where things that happen in the game allow you to open envelopes that add cards to your potential card market, etc. And so I have played the legacy version of it with a friend, and the designer Shanti was like starring that table and saving our progress over 3 months or something like that.
Wow.
So it's
Oh,
possible
cool.
to do that. Yeah,
Yeah, I hadn't
That's really
seen that.
neat.
Hmm.
And just so our listeners and viewers understand, like, there's no charge,
for
right? There's
Protospiel Online
no
for
for
Screen
the
Top. Oh,
yeah.
There is no charge for the first three tables. The first
Right.
three tables, I shouldn't say that. The first three games you build in it, which
Yeah.
multiple tables of each game could be running, I think, as far as I
Yeah.
understand it. And there's also a limit to how the size of your files that you upload, which don't quote me on exactly what it is, but
Yeah.
something to understand about Screen Top or anything. I mean, the minuses, I suppose, of these things that I'm talking about, playing cards and Screen Top, is that the person who runs the system has to pay for the hosting of all the images and everything like that. So they need some kind of monetary system, right,
Yeah.
to get them to be able to cover those costs. And the more people who use them, the more expensive it is for them. So they need to do something to make it scalable. With ScreenTop, the way that works is there is a pro version which allows you to have, I believe, up to 20 tables and more image storage. And we have a partnership with ScreenTop that people who attend Protospiel Online get 30% off for a year.
Oh.
They'll make
That's
us a new
great.
code each session. Yeah.
Right.
Or that's
Cool.
been going on now for about 1.5 years. I don't expect it to end anytime real soon.
No, if that's the
That's great.
platform of choice and people are using it, that's great.
That
And
is
then
that file size limit thing is something I've run into, especially with
Mhm.
some of them when putting some of Kat's games on there, because she does everything in super high resolution, so I had to keep shrinking. But keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason why
Why
is
did it
like
stop?
the storage. The storage, they have to pay for the
Oh,
storage, so they have
it
to.
gets expensive fast. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you get hit, you get hit with being a web developer a little bit with the problems of web developers. Like you need this to be a quick loading small image for this to work well. It's funny how you're actually kind of making an interactive website when you build something on ScreenTop, but it's holding your hand through it. You're just filling in form fields basically in the builder.
Right. Hey Heather, tell us about Mingle Monday on Twitch. What's going on with that?
Mingle? That's hilarious. It's not called
It's
Mingle.
Mini Game Monday. Oh, let me change that. Let me
No,
just
leave
change
it.
it.
That's good.
I mean, it made sense. Come on. Mini Game Monday on Twitch.
You're making me blush. It sounds like it was like a dating site or something.
I mean, you told me. You actually literally okay, everybody. We ask a question in our our onboarding. It says, "What are some questions that we 100% must not ask you during the show?" And Heather, if you're okay with me saying, you okay?
Sure.
She said, "Don't ask me anything not safe for work." or stuff you would probably want to ask anyway. And I go, Bingo Monday. Way to go, son. Okay, so
I planted it in your site,
yeah,
I guess.
it's
No.
Mini Game Monday.
Yes, Mini Game Monday. That is a show I've been running on Twitch since about March, where I am featuring puzzles that so far it's all been me. I've built the puzzles, but I may be getting community members to help me kind of carry the load of that. But I'm using the titles of prototypes that have been at our event.
Oh, fun.
To make the puzzles, and different kinds of puzzles for different ways of featuring. So it gives me a chance to talk about, you can you can bring your game, post it in looking for a game, and actually play test it at the event. That's one way that it gets shared. Separately, you can put it on our website. Just because you put it on on the website doesn't necessarily mean it got play tested, and you don't have to put it on the website to bring it to play test. Right. But it is another option that we give you to just kind of make people aware of what you're working on. And this is another great thing about Protospiel Online, maybe even a little above and beyond a regular Protospiel. A regular Protospiel has this too, but the concern of people stealing your ideas that new designers will often come forward with, like, oh, well, I can't talk about my ideas because they might be stolen. I need to get NDAs, or that's a very common like new designer question. Do I need an NDA? And our answer is, well, once you state it publicly and the community knows that this is what you're working on, they will stick up for you. So play testing with other designers is very helpful for that. And if you play test at Protospiel Online, you also get kind of a record on the internet of what you're doing that we kind of help you maintain.
It's not just exposure, but it's like it is like a fingerprint. Like, this was my game. This is when it was shown.
Yeah,
and it's logged.
Yeah, it's logged in kind of a public way. Yeah. And then we also let people bring cell sheets or post cell sheets, and we have a small team of people who make sure they get at least one piece of feedback, but it also opens it for the community to give feedback, and we let people earn giveaway entries if they do give feedback. So you can get I make sure they get at least one by having my team cover it, and it kind of gets assigned to a certain person.
Right.
As it's coming in. That was a whole thing to set up, but it works now. It's been working pretty smoothly. And so I make a certain kind of puzzle for people who do cell sheets too.
Right. And that's part of Minigame Monday?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I've started making the puzzles where they have a little link to the cell sheet stored on our website, our website's image hosting. So It's just the name. The puzzles I make for those are called crisscross. They're a type of puzzle that's kind of a mashup between a jigsaw puzzle and a crossword,
Right.
where you're just given a list of words and there's only one way they fit in, and you need to figure out how they fit based on letters where they cross and how long they are and things like that. So now, like with that list of words, there's also a little link to each cell sheet.
Oh, okay.
That's being featured. And for the things that are put on the website, I make two different kinds of puzzles. I found this tool that lets me make jigsaw puzzles, and I think they're really quite fun to solve live. But the trouble, I really had to think about that hard, because images for like jigsaw puzzles are very image based, and images for games are like, well, I don't know if I want to show their art because I don't know where it came from.
Right.
And it's probably not final, and it might be just kind of confusing and not really something they would want out there representing their game in the long run, depending on how it changes. But I came up with the idea to make a word collage of all the titles. So it's still just the words, but they're just laid out with pretty colors. And then I put a puzzle together of that and kind of change up the colors for each session. So I do that. And then I make a crossword puzzle where I only do that for things listed on the website that tag themselves with what mechanics and themes and stuff they have. That's an option. There's lots of options to making your post on our website. And people who do that, I reward them for their extra effort by putting them in an extra puzzle and a linking to their prototype listing from that puzzle. Yeah. So I just do it real quick every Monday, and it's making a way for me to share things on social media. I have, kind of a whole social media push of whatever puzzle that I've shared that week.
Okay, cool. All right. And then, so for everybody out there who is wondering, how do I get involved with the Protospiel Online? The next event is January 16th to 18th, 2026. And you can find badges here at https //protospiel.online/badges. Like, I feel real old. My kids laugh when I say www because they go, "We don't say that anymore, Dad." Like,
a lot of times it's not actually at www anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
And badges are not on sale right now, but what you'll find if you go to that page is a place where you can sign up to be notified when they are on sale, and a countdown timer that says when they should be on sale by.
There you go. So
give a visitor.
Yeah, very loud visitor today. What's up?
Yes.
Oh. The other thing that George was interested in was, playing games online. And other than the prototypes, which are in, Screen Top and playing cards and other online tabletops, what is the best way that you find, or your favorite way anyways, maybe not the best, but your favorite way to play, like, published games and prototypes online that may not be, on those platforms?
I think Board Game Arena is my favorite. I will say, I've heard people talk about Zoom calls, like, just totally draining them, and talk about, like, why do they drain them? And the fact that when you're talking on over a camera, you're not really looking at people's faces. Like, if you look in like right now, I'm looking at you, but I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the camera. I can't see you. I can't really make eye contact with you on a Zoom call. And that can be kind of demoralizing over time and wear people down. So that's part of why, like, remote connection can be a little rough for people. Yeah. But as I was listening to people talk about that, and I spend so much time, Protospiel Online runs 60 hours straight, and I don't get much sleep those weekends because they're my weekend to play. I will sleep for like 6 hours, and then I will get up and play more games, and I think I don't feel that way. I was thinking to myself, I don't feel that way when I'm playing at Protospiel Online, and kind of wondering why that was. And I think there's really something, at least for me, about being on a table surface. So instead of trying to look at each other, we usually turn our cameras off because we're looking at the table surface. If we're looking at a table surface, I see your mouse moving around. It kind of feels like you're right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can both touch that card, sort of. You know what I mean? So Screen Top and playing cards are like that. Board Game Arena is not. It's a little bit more removed from that. I can see that you are doing something. I can see that, I can see it's your turn. It'll say waiting, so-and-so's turn at the top. on Board Game Arena. And then I'll see the choice you made, and maybe I'll know you're there, right? But it doesn't have that kind of almost tactile experience that I think really helps with playing board games instead of just talking. It can make me feel more connected to people that are far away, I think.
Interesting.
But yeah, Board Game Arena, I play both asynchronously or turn-based and live. I play most weeks. I play with the Board Game Blitz community on Discord. They have a Tuesday night pretty regular gathering. I would say there's probably about 15 people or so who may show up for that. Like they're probably not all there at the same time, but about that size of a group. And it's a great way to learn new games. I mean, Board Game Arena is just really releasing games so fast. It was like overwhelming how fast they're coming out. But it's a great way to learn new games. It's great that they have, a lot of them have tutorials where you're getting taught how to play the game and where the pieces of the game are in the interface of Board Game Arena, which is really helpful. Not all games have tutorials, but yeah, for anybody who's not familiar with Board Game Arena, like when you go to the page, there's a big button that says play for an individual game, a big button that says play and a big button that says learn. And if you click learn, if there's a tutorial, there'll be a big button that says tutorial. Otherwise, you have to read the rules. But
nobody likes to read the rules. Come on.
Yeah. But I do find it really fun to be on a live call playing a Board Game Arena game, being taught. Sometimes like a person will teach me how to play it. I don't have to take the tutorial. And Board Game Arena enforces the rules. So sometimes you'll find out the game you thought you knew how to play that you played in real life, you were breaking a rule.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, actually, that people have figured it out that, we house ruled that without even knowing that we house ruled that, right? Which is very funny. I don't actually play much on Board Game Arena. I've played a couple games, but I don't know. I'm just not an online board gamer. I don't think that's me. I don't think I would play role play games online. And I think I do that more because it's the people that I want to play with. And the only way that we can actually physically get together sometimes is online because they live in different, countries and cities. But board gaming, for some reason, I don't really gravitate to the online stuff. George, do you play a lot of online board games?
Aside from prototypes, no, I haven't spent a great deal of time on Board Game Arena, but that's mostly because this year has been crazy busy.
Yeah.
But I was at what was it? PAX Unplugged this year, and a couple of my friends. I haven't been back to Jersey other than for like a day since I left in like 2005, and a bunch of my friends from college came by and like they invited me to play with them whenever, and like that's a connection I couldn't have again in person. There's there's 0% likelihood I'm going to end up for an extended period of time back in Jersey, but so it's an opportunity to do something that we all love together again, which is really, really special,
Yeah, this is a big part of why I do it too. I have a lot of, with the Protospiel Network, I made friends because I traveled to them from Denver. I don't live in Denver, from the Denver airport. I live in northern Colorado. But I'd have to always get on a plane. I'm not really doing that as much anymore. So I have a lot of friends who I'm just not going to see them, but I find it more fun to connect over board games. A lot of them I made through board games too. Yeah. So.
Well, there you go. So you go through that weird ass airport, is what you're telling us.
DIA used to be a wonderful airport, and it's been a disaster zone construction area for the last, it feels like 10 years.
Isn't there like a giant horse with like...
Yes, yeah. There are also a lot of rumors about weird things about DIA, like the horse. He has a name. I forgot what his name is, but he's a big, giant blue horse with glowing red eyes, and it is not an urban legend that the person who sculpted that horse was killed by the horse. The horse fell on him and killed him when he was sculpting it, and then the family gave it to the airport. I'm pretty sure this is real. I mean, yeah,
it's not funny, but it's funny.
There's other things about the airport though that there are a lot of urban legends. Like people will say that, my husband was contracted to build something at the airport, but they wouldn't tell him what it was, and then they like sent him away before it was done, and somebody else finished it or something. And like, I've been out hunting rabbits or whatever, and there are vents in the ground out around there. There's like a big bunker or something under the Denver International Airport, and I don't know. They have a lot of. I mean, they have it. It looks like its own power plant because it's out in the middle of nowhere. Like most airports aren't as out in the middle of nowhere as that one is.
I mean,
in my
it is
experience.
Colorado, so I mean,
I guess Colorado isn't Wyoming.
well, that's true. Wyoming is like,
Is that on the side?
Wyoming's like big sky,
Yeah.
right?
But yeah, there's a lot of weird art and stuff in DIA. But as far as its layout, it used to be very easy to move through, especially when it was your local airport and you knew which security line to go to and such. But it's been under construction in a very miserable and frustrating way for many years now.
That alone explains why you're playing stuff online, really. Heather. So I think that's okay. George, have you used ScreenTop at all?
Yes, I built a couple games on ScreenTop. I've built some stuff on Tabletop Playground. I have a cards.io account, but I haven't built anything on it yet. And there used to be another one called like tabletop.gg or something like that, but
there's also Tabletopia.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, some people use that too. That one is browser based, and you don't necessarily have to have a account, though you can have an account. And it is all right. It is a good option for when you really need 3D, but it's more time consuming to play in than other things.
The thing I remember about it was that like I could build one game for free, but to build any more than one game, it was not cheap. And I knew I was going to be building quite a few games, and so I never got super familiar with it. But it does, as you mentioned before, it seems like ScreenTop is unless you have a reason not to, that's kind of the place to be.
Yeah.
Have you found...
definitely for these? Yeah. It's Blucifer, by the way.
Yeah. Yes.
Will jumped into the chat.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Will. You're the best, Will.
Appreciate that. So have you found any sorts of games that lend themselves very well to being online more than others, or some that don't? Because I know like any game you play online, at least in my experience, always takes some degree of time longer than playing in person. But some...
on BGA, playing Arc Nova is a lot probably faster because you don't have to set it all up, So some things might take less time, especially with BGA, where it's doing all the setup and cleanup for you. If you count all of the time that it takes to play a game, right?
That's fair.
Or some things are just like real snappy on BGA. You can literally play them in 15 minutes. They become almost like video game-esque, depending on what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think in BGA it's a little different too than something that's like kind of half implemented in Tabletop Simulator or something like that, where it's a prototype. Because a lot of the stuff that's happening in BGA will have like hotspots and locks and magnetic click points and whatever, whereas a lot of people don't know how to necessarily do that. Right, or just buttons that are dedicated to this particular function, right? And a lot of people don't know how to do that stuff in some of the virtual tabletops,
or it's not possible,
or it's literally not something you can do at all. So there's definitely that tabletop tax that we talk about, which makes me like immensely dislike playing online. I think I'm just jaded. I'm a jaded old man.
I think the 3D tools, it's true. What you're saying was my experience too when using the 3D tools, that it would take longer. It would be fiddly. There would be a long time. A lot of the time you would spend at the table would be talking about how to use the 3D tool.
Yes.
Yeah.
But since using ScreenTop, one thing that I am starting to brag about is that the last 3 Protospiel Onlines, I filled my bingo card, my 5x5 bingo card in a 3-day weekend. And this most recent time, I didn't have room for all the games that I played on my bingo card. So I was like writing them in the margins. So I played 28 games in 3 days, counting, talking about them afterward.
Right.
So, and that was never happening with a lot of 3D implementation games. So
Right.
I think with screen top, especially when you start to get with a lot of people who already know the hotkeys and stuff. Although I
Right.
would say that is a tip I would give you, like if you are building in screen top and you're sitting down at a table or any of these, whatever it is that you're using, unless you really know your playtesters already know, before you teach your game, teach them
Teach the
how
hotkeys.
to use
Yeah.
how the program works, right?
Yeah. No, I
The
think that's
kind
a
of
very
thing to
smart
do.
idea. In fact, I mean, maybe there should be like a little video that just everybody can watch to learn.
I've seen
Um,
some designers make a little player aid that is the hotkeys, and they'll put it like in the middle of the table. You know,
It's a great
I mean,
idea.
why not? You can. It's literally an asset you can just repeatedly shove into your game.
right?
Matthew Hawker from Break My Games says, I actually think digital playtesting is that's 3 A's times faster than in person most of the time, especially if the group does online playtesting regularly. And I would definitely agree that I am biased against playing online, so I don't know all my hotkeys.
Yeah.
And a grumpy old man yelling at clouds, except my clouds are actually the cloud that I'm yelling at, the digital cloud. And so I think you're right, Matthew, that if everybody is very apt at controlling the play space, right,
Mhm.
and is happy with that and quick and fluid, then the tax isn't quite there. But if it's a bunch of people who are new to tabletop as well as being new to the game and new to that environment that you're playing in, then it can get difficult.
Yeah.
And then you just have to factor that in. But anyways,
I do think it
I,
depends on the type of game too, because like
sure.
something with a ton of pieces and stuff might be still pretty time consuming in screen top, or something that was a big problem at like a big hurdle to get over for people with screen top was if they wanted to make a roll and write or flip and write game, and you can't draw on the surface of the table in screen top.
Right.
But various people have figured out different ways of making like a component that is transparent on the back, so it looks like it's not there, and then you flip it over, and then it has a line or something or a
Right.
checkbox that you needed to write. So this become it's because of the way the designer set up the table that people can just click that and tap F.
It's as if you wrote it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So some things like that might feel pretty fiddly, compared to if I had this on the table, I'd just be writing on it,
Yeah, but I guess with some creative asset making and exploiting some of the weird loopholes in the virtual tabletop, you can kind of do a lot, which is both interesting and scary at the same time, right? For some of us who aren't very savvy.
I will say that the thing that I find much easier to do online is to teach, because I can have a separate version. There's the normal layout 2, 3, 4 player one, but then I have one that's just teach, which is a game, halfway 5 or 6 turns in where people have played a few cards and moved some pieces, and I can speak to them, and then I don't have to clean all of that up, let alone lay it back out.
Well, that's a great idea. Actually, I've never thought about that.
Every one I make, I have a teach mode where I can just flip to that and say, like, so here's a game a couple turns in. This is what's happening, and I can explain it. And I don't have to go find those cards again between playtests when someone has shuffled them back into the deck. Yeah, that one has definitely been an asset for me. And the fact that, I mean, often, if you're playing at a table, yes, you can get out a pen, you can scribble on cards if you find something wrong. But I can, between playtest sessions, just turn to this monitor and edit a digital asset and upload it. And now it doesn't look like I've been scribbling on this card for 6 months. So that So that's sort of, I find for quick iterations, if it's something that needs to change, like I find that quite a bit nicer. It's more satisfying that I don't have a bunch of messed up cards, just from my own aesthetic perspective, that it looks like it's been this way for a while.
Is it? I kind of like the beat up old cards. They're fun.
There's definitely something that
gravitas.
My friend Evan introduced me to the what are they, like the whiteout pens that put strips of whiteout to just color something over, and I had never seen one of those before because apparently I live under a rock, and I was like, that's amazing. Just editing tiles and stuff like that had the wrong symbol on it. You don't have to wait for it to dry like normal whiteout.
No,
I don't know.
It's like a correcto tape or something.
Yeah.
Do you know about these friction erase pins, George?
Yeah.
I can hold your mind with something else.
What's that?
It's a erasable pen. Race is great. It's awesome.
I do know about those, but I am left-handed, and
No, it
so
works
my
fine.
hand smears. Well,
Nope.
when I was a kid, at least, when we had erasable pens, it
Yeah,
would just make
these
a
are
no.
not the
They fix
same.
that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do think it dries pretty fast. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe you shouldn't
Yeah.
buy a big pack of them until you try one, but
I mean, this is when I was 7, so it was a while ago. They may have improved the technology since then.
Technology has improved since then, George. No, they erase, but they require quite a bit of friction, hence the name, to
Okay.
actually erase the marking. It's not quite as malleable is not the word, but wipeable. I don't know.
well,
As the old
I know what
when
you
school, I
it
mean.
gets
remember those two,
hot,
George.
it disappears. So
Yeah.
the eraser makes the paper hot enough for it to disappear, and then you can
Ah.
write over it again.
How fascinating! Yeah, it's entirely different than the stuff I'm thinking of. Okay.
Yeah. And the eraser isn't really like a rubbery eraser. It's like hard and nubby. It's
It's
not
just
the same.
for friction, not for
Yeah.
picking up the ink.
And it's FRIXION or something like that. It's
Okay.
fancy for branding. For the gram. Heather, what are some other really cool either uses of some of the tabletops or like George's teaching hint to make a whole setup just to teach with? Have you seen people do other cool things like put the card of the hotkeys on their tabletop, or do have some of the hot links for the instructions in there? What else are designers doing that you thought was really cool ways to exploit the virtual space over a manual physical manipulation of something?
I'll call on Matthew to remind me of things too, but because I'm sure he's seen a lot of
Yeah.
good stuff too. But something that a lot of designers will do that I like is that they'll put a plinth on the table for people to write their name on, so you can see who's sitting where.
Oh, okay.
That's a relatively new-ish thing that you can do. It's kind of janky in Screen Top. You can make a container that can have words in it, can have words entered into it. You have to click it and hit backslash, and then you can type in it.
Oh,
But a
weird.
lot of designers will make that kind of component and put it at all the seats, and then tell people before we get started, click that, type backslash, write your name, and then people know where people are sitting. I like it when that's implemented. It helps
Yeah.
me as a player too. I guess that's a big thing I would say. So I don't build these games. I play a lot of them though.
Yeah.
So as a player, I can tell you things
Yeah.
that
That's
help
the
me.
implementation is actually the important thing. It's how to do it. We'll figure that out, or somebody will figure that out.
Yeah,
Or there's a tutorial somewhere, but
things
what
that help
impacted the
me
experience, right?
know whose turn it is are very helpful for keeping the game flowing. Like that would be one reason that you might get a tabletop or like a screen top tax or whatever, is that people are always confused whose turn it is, because you got to
Yes.
understand that like in all of these things, Tabletopia, I have never gotten my head around how it's supposed to work in Tabletopia. I always find it super confusing. But in Screen Top, their colors associated with the seats and people's names fall down the side and on the left in a list from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
It really helps me if the designer is thinking about the order that list is going to show when they set the places that are red, blue, etc. So that it will be going, if turn order is clockwise, that it will be going clockwise. Although you also have this thing going on in Screen Top where you don't need to put things around the table. You could just put them in a row. Everybody can be, when they land at the table, sitting in a position where, because
can all see it
we
from
all can
that.
basically have our butt in the same spot, which you could not do.
I thought you said we're not talking about not safe for work things. Here we are talking about butts.
But anyway, well, I don't think butts sitting in seats is not safe for work. We all have butts.
It's very work related. We all have butts.
It's intrinsically tied to work,
right?
Exactly. You're doing it all day at work.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll a lot of times just be in a straight row. But at least if they can be in the same order as they're listed on the left side, that helps me always a lot.
Yeah, because I don't think you can do that in tabletop simulator, can you? I don't think you can.
Well,
I think
it's
you also have to sit at the seats that are surrounding the table, unless you build a special table. Well,
I
maybe I don't know.
mean, you could set the
I also
table up
don't love
that
that
way,
program either. So
but
yeah, I think so.
it's up to you how you set up tabletop simulator as well, but the fact that there's a physical table being shown to you in 3D really like calls to
Yeah.
getting those seats. And this is something like some programs have a hand that is attached to the bottom of your screen and it kind of window shades down and up.
Right.
You may have one hand. Right now, ScreenTop has the ability to pick a hand up from the table and like snap it to the bottom of your screen, but it won't window shade. So it's kind of in the way of everything. A lot of times when people will set it up that way to start, I'll often, as the player, I can detach it from my screen and put it on the table. And I'll usually do that because I just don't feel like I have enough field of vision when it's attached as it currently works.
Do you find yourself trying to like look around the side of your cards or virtual? Like I was trying to see the cat earlier.
Yes,
What's the cat doing?
it's the equivalent of like in a game with a controller where like you want to go right and you're leaning the controller even though clearly it has no spatial. Yes, I think it's just natural.
I don't know. Other things that I can mention that are possibilities are using whiteboard tools as well.
Right.
For myself, like I actually have made the only online game I've really made in many years anyway is a White Elephant gift exchange platform, like tabletop basically, but I built it in Fig Jam, which is the replacement for Google Jamboard.
Mm-hmm.
I had it built in Google Jamboard. Then I was notified that wasn't going to continue existing. So I moved it to Fig Jam, and I actually am quite glad to have it there instead because it's a lot easier to align things there.
Right.
So that you can do neat things with those kind of tools too, where you like layer images. You can I make it so there are GIFs on the table, and I slide them behind a bigger image so they just kind of disappear.
Yeah, with layers.
Mm-hmm.
That we do that a lot with role-playing games. Like we just build them in slides. We build it in slides, in Google Slides, because it's easier than anything else to really work with. And you have like layers and objects and whatnot. So yeah, I don't like. There's no need for a lot of the role-playing games that we build to go much further than a very simple like thing that we're doing on slides, like cards. Even you don't have to build a whole thing in a fancy program to have something work. If you just need a few things, right? A few assets that are visible to all players or something, when you can share a screen about it, right?
Yeah. And for myself, like I don't play a lot of role play games. I've explained it to people like this, that I use my creative energy for other things that are going to like last, you know what I mean? So I don't like to be asked to use my creative energy during games. Like I'm not as much of a party game or role play game fan, or party games that are asking me to entertain my fellow players.
Right.
That feels like work to me, which is kind of ironic, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people like only want to play those kind of games, but so I'm not as able to. I'm not a great play tester for those games because I don't like them in the first place. There's a big hill to get over for me for that. But yeah, I'm actually kind of. I think maybe it's because I'm that way and I'm running the event that this is the case, but it seems like role-play games are the ones that are quite easy to test remotely. We don't have many people testing those. Sometimes when I've talked to people about it, they've said, well, it's probably because people don't necessarily feel that they need to test role-play games as much as they need to test board games.
I would agree. Or they have a group that they can test with regularly, versus this is a special occasion for board games, right? So I can see that. As being a thing. So we are coming up on the 10 o'clock hour. At least I am, because it's 10 o'clock where I live. So George, do you have any last minute questions for Heather about Protospiel, about all those things? Everybody remember January 16th to 18th, 2026, Protospiel Online. Get your badges, or at least get notified that the badges will eventually go on sale at this link that we see here. George, do you have any other questions before we head out into the wild blue yonder?
Not specific questions, but I think my big takeaway from this is to don't make things. I mean, this is good life advice, but don't make things any more complicated than they need to be. If your goal is to communicate this game, this set of rules, and this experience, do as much as you need to and no more, because other things just sort of get in the way. Like it seems like the lower fi options are really the ones that move smoother, are faster. Like if you need 3D, fine, you need 3D, but yeah, just express what you're trying to express.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people get, and I am this way, like I don't want to learn a new program to do a thing I can do in another program, except maybe that other program would be simpler in the long run once I spend a little bit of time to learn it. And then I'd make like 80% of the games I make in that, and then the 20% and the other thing that has like that, the 3D assets and whatever that I need for that big dexterity-ish game or whatever. So yeah, no, that's a good point. Good point. All right, everybody, we are about to say goodbye. You can find me on Blue Sky at Sen Feng Lim. And George, where are you?
Drarink on some of the things, mostly Instagram and Blue Sky.
I will change it to some of the things later.
Yeah, just leave, but don't explain what.
Yeah, don't explain which ones. You can find us at Maple Syrup on all the things all together. And hey, Heather, you said that there's a Discord.
That's
so there
true.
it is, everybody. There's a Discord for Protospiel at protospiel.online/community. You can find all the links to the Discord for them. And that is where all the Protospielers meet. And it's kind of interesting. Like there are little sub-communities of people who, are really kind of like vested in one particular group. And then there are people who kind of go between lots of different groups. And you'll find your place. Like if you like the Protospiel Discord, that's where you're going to hang out. You might say, you know what, it's okay, I like it there, but I'm going to go over to this other Discord, or whatever. But definitely, if you're looking for community, there's tons of communities for gamers, playtesters, designers who need playtesters, and all that kind of thing. So go check out Protospiel Discord, and you can find out if that is your forever home. Like you're some kind of dog that needs to be adopted.
We have a channel in our server called Partners, and other communities that we can vouch for are listed in there too.
So, that's a great idea.
As well, a lot of different things are in there actually, but some of them are board gamer communities.
Yeah. Blue Sky, you can find Protospiel online at protospielo.bluesky.social. And if you want to help get the lights on here, you can reach out to us at patreon.com/maple-syrup. Don't worry if you don't. It's all right. Heather, I told you that you have to give some final advice, and here it is. What is your final advice, Heather?
I would say don't let distance keep you from playing games with people you enjoy playing games with. Any kinds of games.
I think
nice. Yeah.
In today's day and age, I think we have the technology, right, to make all that happen. So yeah, that's great advice. And for those of you who are looking for testers, don't forget that there's a world out there. And there's lots of like-minded people. You just got to find them. And Protospiel Online is one of the ways. And Protospiel, the regular Protospiels are another way to do it. Now, I don't know where they're all located, but they go on all over the place. Like
most of them are in the US. That is also something that is special about Protospiel Online, is that we have some people from like international places that it would be ridiculous. I think I was trying to get to that point and got a little sidetracked, but it would be ridiculous for somebody from England to get on a plane generally to come to a 300-person event. They'd have to be pretty dedicated or pretty wealthy or something like that. But
somewhere in between.
Yeah. But we get people who have been regulars from England and Germany and New Zealand and all over the world. So that's something I try to cultivate as much as I possibly can, that we can have a lot of different kinds of perspectives, and we can have we have very interesting conversations in the middle of the night when it's the middle of the day for Europe. And there's like one German in the channel with a bunch of us US folks, and Canada folks and saying like, "You all are very interesting. We are very different." You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But in a loving way. That it's great to
Yeah.
know each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's like an understated selling point
Mm.
of the online events is that you will get a wider variety of people and people who might not be able to get out to the conventions for whatever reason. It might be
Mhm.
geography, it might be disability, it might be distance, it might be their job responsibilities, and they just can't get to a
Or
weekend long
kids.
con or
Having a
kids,
kid.
right?
Yeah.
So while this isn't, the perfect accessibility for absolutely everybody because you still need, internet connection and whatnot,
Mm.
it's at least democratizing things a little bit more in some ways where the price is not super expensive. You don't
Mhm.
have to get a hotel and flight or anything like that. So hopefully we're going to see more people have their designs get at a level where making an investment in themselves to travel to an actual physical con or pitch their games or whatever, or launch their game on Kickstarter,
Mhm.
uh, gets to be a reality more so when they have access to a testing pool that isn't costing them an arm and a leg, or that they're able to access at different times of the day when their kids are asleep or anything like that. So hopefully we'll
Right.
see like broader varieties of designers, right?
Yeah.
So more women, more people from uh, different countries where they don't actually have a developed scene, right? So
Yeah.
Mm.
lots of opportunity with the online stuff there. So thank you very much, Heather, for coming to
Yes, thank
talk to
you.
us. It's been lovely seeing you. Hey, George, what's happening next week?
More of this topic, though I can't remember which of our guests is specifically up next week.
It's next week's the 15th, George.
Okay.
So it would be the first person we had talked about.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So
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 who
that
is
will
it?
be Daniel. Daniel Tosher. I should have asked him how his name is pronounced.
Tozier, I think. Yeah.
Yes, it is with that that male that role playing game with a male with a,
Okay.
the by male aspect.
There
I've
you go.
done
Yeah,
think I've
yeah.
done an excellent job of this. Uh,
It's
he asks
okay.
me every single week, and I'm
Yeah.
unprepared every
Yeah.
single week.
Every single week. Yeah, it's like PBM, right? Play by mail.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, which is really cool. I remember growing up, like looking at in the back of like Dragon magazine. That's how old I am. Dragon was still a magazine,
I still have some.
and there'd be all these like PBM games where you like sent in your moves by physical snail mail,
Mhm.
and then the GM would like roll some dice and send you a letter back. And then it became PBEM where you could play by email. And so I'm really fascinated to see what he
Mm.
has in store for us. So looking forward to next week, everybody. Thank you everybody for participating. Deadpan, Will for helping us. Remember that it's Blucifer. Blucifer is the name of the angry blue horse sculpture in the
With
Denver
glowing
International
red
Airport.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, with glowing red eyes. And thanks to Matt, who is a fellow TTGA education and events member with me, and I think helps out with Protospiel Online and Break My Games and all sorts of stuff. So thanks everybody for coming out and hanging out, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Heather.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Night, everyone.